We are live. Happy Friday, everyone. My favorite day of the week. And not just because it's Pretend Talk Show, though that is a pretty big reason why. I hope you guys are all having a really great week and enjoying the weather wherever you are. It's been beautiful here in California, which is kind of torturous that we can't go outside and enjoy it, but things are loosening up. Listen, we have two incredible guests today, and they are very, very amenable to taking questions and comments in the chat. So if you're joining us live, please hop on that chat right now and give a warm welcome to our guests who I'm going to introduce right now. So for this very awesome, fierce, funny female Friday edition of Pretend Talk Show, I am honored, thrilled, delighted, and excited to have actor and acting coach Blythe Howard as our first guest on today. I am going to play a clip from you that's really just going to speak for itself. But so that you guys know, Blythe I know personally because we share an agent, and she broke my curse. I'll tell you more about that after the clip. So everybody hang tight and enjoy this beautiful clip of Miss Blythe Howard. Hang with me. Here we go. Technology. I love it. I love it so much, you guys. Let's see. Did you guys all hear that? Thumbs up. Give Blythe some love in the chat if you love her as much as I do. Without further ado, it is my honor and total jazzed excitement to introduce Miss Blythe Howard. Blythe, hi.
Hi.
How's that? That reel is like, I've done this and I've done that. And oh, that big commercial, that was me. I'm like, it's great. The amount of work that you have booked is just, I tip my hat to you. How's it going over there for you in quarantine?
It's good. It's good. I have my sister here, so we haven't been bored in the slightest. So we just keep each other entertainment, brainstorming ideas, and getting our businesses off the ground. So being really productive this quarantine. Not bad.
I love
given the circumstance.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I'm always like, I'm having a great time. I mean, I know it's terrible out there, and I really do. But so I think it's okay to make the best out of the cards we're dealt, right?
Yeah, that's all I know. That's all I've ever done in my life. You just got to keep trucking, and you got to keep it moving. We talk about this all the time. Momentum, right?
Momentum. I mean, it's like whenever I feel that I'm like, I need something to be happening. I'm like, I do. I hear your little voice pop in, and you're like, momentum. What's your saying? Momentum.
Oh, momentum demands movement.
Momentum demands movement. Something that we learned in Blythe's class. So Blythe, let's just quickly take a minute to kind of, you don't have to give your whole bio, but I know you. I came to find you because we share an agent, a commercial agent, and you're posted in one of their, check out our amazing clients. And then I sort of stalked you on the old interwebs, and then I ended up taking your commercial acting workshop, which is like the other side of this whole picture of Blythe. And you broke my curse. I hadn't booked a commercial in like years, and one workshop with you, next commercial, booked it. Tell us what you're
that's crazy.
up to.
It's so fun. Yeah, same thing. So, and that I loved, and that was like, that made me, I got choked up hearing that story. Cause it's like, oh my gosh, first of all, cause you're so talented, and I couldn't believe that you hadn't booked. I mean, you've gotten close, right? Or something. And yeah, I was just, seeing the breakthroughs is really what it's about for me. And it's so rewarding watching these things happen before my eyes. You know what I mean? And if I can help anyone in this industry. You know, I mean, it means the world to me, because starting out, as we know, like this industry it's hard. This is an easy gig, right? So if you can surround yourself with people who get it, who are moving forward, who are moving up, you know, who aren't gonna, you know, it's easy to spiral. It's easy to get wrapped up in gossip and the bad things and the negatives, you know, because there's a lot of it. But the more you focus on the positive things and being productive and proactive, that is really where the magic happens. So yeah, so I'm taking all my workshops, everything's virtual now. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, I couldn't agree more. I love that, like, you talk so much about mindset, because that's such a huge portion of this, not just the acting side, this entire industry. If you're in Hollywood, like, I feel like you got to have, this has to be the strongest muscle. Resilient, I believe.
Oh, completely.
Yeah.
Completely. Yeah. And no one teaches you can't find that in the books, in the textbooks, in the techniques. It's like, it's just something you have to keep practicing, and it's hard and it's tough. And yes, it's not always sunshine and rainbows, not always bookings, you know, but like I always say, if you audition and you get close and you don't get it, take your time to like mourn that situation or that character, because we give so much into each character, but give yourself time to release it, because tomorrow or the next day there's another role that's going to require all of your attention and energy, and you can't be focused on the one that you didn't get, that wasn't for you.
Yeah.
You know, so anyway, that's my whole thing and my philosophy and like my mindset as far as moving forward. We don't have time to dwell on the things that we don't get, you know, because there's so many of them.
Yeah, and it's like this idea of not rejecting this how sad it is to not get it, because like it is sad. It is something you want. You can't pretend like, oh, I didn't even want that anyway. It's like, yes, I've been taking classes. I've been out there. It's very hard not to take it personally, and I love that you address, like, mourn it. It sucks, and then move on. You know?
Yeah. I mean, you have to. You know what I mean? And it's like we actually never hear the word no. Really, right. We don't hear anything at all. So technically, we never really hear no. So where's this no's coming from, right? You just got to move on. If they happen to call you, they call you. And who's to say that, you know, the person they actually end up booking, something they book out or go on a trip or something happens, they end up calling you as a backup. You know what I mean? Who's to say, right?
I'm learning it more and more throughout quarantine. I'm like, you know what? I can't control any of this. I gotta just do me, because I have no control. Like, I cannot even go to the grocery store on my own terms. So there's no control in this industry.
Exactly, and so it's focusing on what you can control. I mean, look at you. You're creating your own opportunities. You know what I mean? And that's what we can control. No one's telling us no. We can't. We can.
Yeah. And of course our mindset, which this is so amazing. I want to jump back to this, but one thing that I love about you, Blythe, is that you are this obviously powerhouse in commercial. You have also been killing it in the theatrical world. For any of our viewers who are joining us and don't know when we say theatrical, that means TV and film. It doesn't mean like the theater. So Blythe has, you know, perfected the duality. She kills it in commercial, and now she's booking theatrical TV and film work. Well, you have been for a while. I shouldn't say now. You have been booking like crazy. But what I love most about you is these comedy chops that you have that are so freaking subtle and funny. And with that in mind, I want us all to take a look at our next guest's, some of her work. So hang with me, Blythe. We have another guest on the show today, and I want us all to start chatting together. I'm very excited to invite Tiege Dooley-Panko onto the show. I'm going to play a clip for you guys. Listen to this girl's bio, okay? She is this beautiful blonde, you know, fit as a fiddle woman that you would think, like, girl, that she's like gifted. Like, that's all you have to do is walk through life with this beauty, you know, this wonderful thing. But Tiege's like the smartest, funniest, most talented killer on top of that. So let's take a look at her clip and talk about all the funny ladies that we have on today's show. So with that, here we go. Here comes Tiege. Did you guys hear audio when I played Blythe's clip? Thumbs up, thumbs down? I'm thinking you might not have, but here's Tiege's set. So please enjoy.
I moved to LA from Missouri because in Missouri I just wasn't having my dreams crushed. Here I am. following my dream. No, but in Missouri, I was a local news reporter. And I moved to LA and became a professional cheerleader. Thank you. My parents are really proud. So I was a journalist turned cheerleader. So yes, the plot of every 90s movie starring Sandra. Yeah, it's cool. LA is tough though, man. I mean, being in LA is really hard because all these guys are like hot actors or models, which means they're unemployed. Like, get a job, Chad. Okay. Get a job.
I freaking love that so much. So good. Tiege, you are talented. Without further ado, please, everybody in the chat, let's welcome Tiege Dooley-Panko to the show.
Hi. This is so exciting.
Oh, it's so fun to have you on. And I'm going to bring Blythe back on in a minute too, but I just want to get a moment to shine some spotlight on you because you, like I said, I mean, I just marvel at the, first of all, coordination that it takes to be a dancer, let alone an LA Laker girl. And then the talent behind the stuff that you write. So tell us what you're up to, Tiege.
I so appreciate that. First of all, Ashley, I'd also like to say you're a straight killer. Every time I look at your Instagram, she's doing something new. She's booking something. So I would just like to say kudos to you. And this show is so great. I've been doing a lot of writing in quarantine. You guys have been super productive. I've like tried that. But I've also like eaten a lot of pizza and like watched a lot of reality TV. You know, like I go through ebbs and flows of like really being productive. But yeah, I've just been doing a lot of writing and trying to still kind of pitch. It's a little difficult right now because like when are people like are people making things? Like when is the industry popping back up? And that's like kind of a very weird up in the air thing. But luckily like development and stuff is still able to kind of happen. So at least you can kind of be hopeful in that sense. So I've just been writing a lot and just trying to stay sane and stay 6 feet away from my fridge.
Yes.
Hasn't been easy, I will tell you.
I have embraced the stress baking with wholeheartedly, and I've just given up, and I love it. To me, writing is the hardest part of this entire craft because there's no hiding behind another character, you can't blame it on anybody. And this is how I do it in my mind. I'm like, oh, if it sucks, that's 100% me. Do you ever face like those fears about writing?
Oh, for sure. And especially like right now, like I feel like everybody's mental health is a little bit like I'm definitely not in like, I admittedly like I'm fine, but like I'm not in like the rosiest garden mind space I've ever been in. So I think it's like sometimes hard to like motivate yourself in these times of like not feeling super hopeful and great in like the time that we're living in. But yeah, so I think that's like the stressful thing about writing. But also like if you have people that are like on your side or like people like I've sent you a script before and let me just tell you, I appreciate your notes so much because also you've been so successful in this industry. And I will say like, it was just so nice to have somebody that like believes in you or is like, hey, you don't totally suck because that was like something I had like written in the beginning and I appreciate you taking the time and like,
I'm so
confidence.
Oh, if that's the first thing that you wrote, you guys, Tiege sent me a script that she wrote, which was freaking phenomenal. And if that's the first thing that you wrote, I'm like, I kind of hate you, but in the most loving way, well, let's bring Blythe back on too, because I just think that you guys all have a lot to say to each other. So hang on one sec as I figure out technology. Here comes Blythe. There's Blythe. Hi.
Hey.
Blythe and Tiege, I think this is your first time meeting, eh?
I love it. Yeah.
Tiege. Okay, first of all, bow down because that's stand-up shit. I'm sorry, probably gonna swear, but that is amazing. Stand-up is so scary.
You could so do it.
Is it scary?
First of all, yes, and it never gets not scary. But I will say, I think everybody should try it. I think you guys should come to an open mic with me some night and just give it a whirl because I think everybody like has a story to tell, and that's all it is, you know. So
right.
I'm with you, Blythe. Like if I have stress nightmares, it often like circles around being on stage and people not liking me. Actually, a lot of my stress dreams are about people not liking me, on stage or otherwise. Well, I think you two both, obviously, are so symbiotic because you're funny, strong, awesome women. But you both have had some commercial success. Tiege, you do some commercial acting yourself as well, don't you?
I mean, I try. Nothing like Blythe, I will tell you. But
no one is like Blythe. No one is like Blythe.
Yeah, I booked like a Geico commercial. That was huge for me. I was a cheerleader, but that's pretty much the beginning and end of my commercials. I mean, I've done some stuff, but Blythe.
Do you want to be doing any more commercial stuff, or is that you're just not so into it? Or
oh my God, I would love to. I just never book them, and it's one of those things we just like don't take it personally, right? But
right,
yeah, I do feel like I also need to see Blythe now. I'm like, I wrote it in my notes, like I should probably DM Blythe and get in a session. But yeah,
I'm not to be like, what's the word? Superstitious, but she's a freaking spell breaker. So do it. She broke the spell.
Well, I will say, I am gonna throw this out there. Geico, I actually bombed a Geico callback before, and I will never forget it. So I don't know what it was. I don't know what it was. This was like a couple years ago, but yeah. So congrats on the Geico. Those are hard because you want that deadpan comedy, you know.
Yeah, right.
So yeah.
Do you remember the story?
Yeah. So they had switched. I went in for a different role at the first audition, right? It was two office girls, and I was the one that was like, the person says, you can switch such and such with Geico, blah, blah, blah. Right? I was the one that had like the reaction. So I didn't have to say any dialogue. At the callback, they switched us. They're a totally different person, obviously. So I was saying the dialogue. I hadn't prepared the whole spiel, right? And so for some reason, I couldn't reset. You know what I mean? So this was a huge learning lesson and something that I talk about in the workshops. You know, everything that goes into the workshops is a learning experience or a mistake or something, hoping I can help someone else avoid that mistake. So yeah, I don't know. And I'd worked with the same company as the director before. It was just something I just couldn't, I couldn't just shake it. You know what I mean? You get stuck. Have you ever done this happened? I'm sure, right?
Oh yeah. Well, to use your own words, like it wasn't for you. And maybe, it allowed you to do this Volkswagen commercial that you booked later, or, whatever are the things that we can tell ourselves. Blythe, I'd love to know.
It's always out there.
Yeah. You're seeing, you're hosting commercial workshops, I think, at least once or twice a month, even virtually now?
Yeah, so we had so before pandemic, obviously, I had 2 workshops twice a month, and then I wasn't sure if I was going to do the whole online thing because I love being in the room. My workshops are so interactive that I was like, how am I going to do this? And it worked. So I did the virtual workshop a couple weeks ago. They loved it. We turned it into a 2-day workshop, so it's a 2-day thing online now rather than being a 1-day intensive. So yeah, it's going great. I'm rolling out the self-tutorial Tuesdays next week, so that'll be fun.
Yeah. What's the common thread? Like if you had to think about it, the one piece of advice that you give the most frequently to actors across the board, what would it be?
You are enough. You are enough. Just walking, because I know, and it sounds so Hallmark, but it's true. And it took me years to really tap into that. Like no one is gonna, no matter what you do, whether you want to go in there and wing it or you're gonna prepare, and do everything you can control before walking into that room, but know that you are the only person that's gonna walk in there doing what you do. You know what I mean? So if someone wants to try to copy or see you rehearsing, wants to try to, you know what I mean? Like there's so many things going on, but only you can do what you're going to do in that room. And that's what it's like, whatever you do between the lines, through you, it's like, that's what puts you into the booking, I think. Just being who you are and owning it and stepping into your power. You is your power.
Amen to that. Tiege, you must kind of run into some of that within stand-up too. Some of that, yes, it is Hallmark for a reason, but you are enough. I mean, do you ever run into that, like, oh, this joke has been done, or whatever? But do you ever run up against some of that?
Oh my God! First of all, if you want to set up for making yourself just be upset, I've bombed, and I just never. It was worse than a breakup. I was you feel so bad, because, but then you have to put things in perspective. It's all this whole thing's like a very big game out here, right? And it's so mental. But like there have been some nights where like it's great, and like my set resonates with someone, and they'll come up and they'll be like, oh my God, I went through the same thing, like to hear that you did that, or like that's like the coolest. And then you'll do the same set, and maybe you're in front of like a different crowd or like a lot of guys, no offense. And like it just told you bomb, and you like are like, well, I should probably move home to Chicago and work at Target.
Sure.
Nothing against working at Target. I'm just saying like it feels
Right.
so. Anyways, so yeah, I've definitely come up against that, and I think it's just like it's a mental game. It's like what we've been saying. I feel like that's the theme, but like it really is just, you got to keep just like believing that it did work at one point, so like it can work again. There's just like nights that for some reason it doesn't work, you know?
Yeah. And I love that. I imagine stand-up as being like, and this is clearly, I have no experience in stand-up, but so I imagine it as like, you've got a diary of like everything that's ever happened to you. What goes into creating a set?
Yeah, honestly, I think it's just mostly like once you pull on like real things, because like I've tried to write things where I'm like, oh, that'd be really funny if I said that. And then I do it and it's like super, like doesn't hit because it's not authentic. I think the funniest stuff is like, you know, talking about things you've actually gone through and like bad relationships and stuff that's like relatable, and like, but you don't write it to be relatable, you know, you just like do it because it's what you want to talk about and it's like cathartic for you to like talk about it. And that's where you find like the real gems, I think. So
the gold. Yeah. And again, the reason I chose you two, because there's like, we're sort of talking about two different art forms, but don't you think, Blythe, that what she's saying about stand-up and like being authentically, the way you make choices, like in a commercial audition, for example, it's not like, oh, I think this would be funny, so I'm going to do this. But if it's like something that's you really feel and feels organic to you.
Absolutely. Because it's like, some people go in there over rehearsed, you know, and like have this big plan, and then you get in the room and that cup isn't there that they were going to sip on this moment. You know what I mean? Like, what are you going to do without the cup? You got to pull from you. You got to pull from what's inside, and it's all authentic. Always, always, always. Because even like when you're playing a villain, you know, that stuff has to come from somewhere. You know, building up that backstory. You know, so yeah, always, always authentic. Otherwise, it's just not gonna land.
Totally. I played a villain once. I played a British guinea pig that was a villain in an animated series. And had to find the
clip.
It's not out yet. Oh, Jesus, I probably just outed a NDA. Oopsie. Anyway, moving right along. So for both of you, Blythe, I think that a lot of people look at people like you two that have these amazing things going on their social media or out there in public. And like sort of the first thing that comes to my mind anyway is like, how did you get there? What was your break? How did you get in? So maybe Blythe, I know you have a really interesting story about how you won MTV VJ for a day, but I don't know, sort of what would you consider your first break? How'd you get your first big break?
I feel like I'm still trying to break through, you know what I mean? It's a journey. And I feel like, honestly, again, not to sound so Hallmark, but every booking, every audition is like, I get geeked about it because I'm like, yes, here's another opportunity that could lead to X, Y, and Z or whatever. Even like low budget films or independent films, I'm all about it. If the production's there, the script is there, it's there, I'm down, because you never know what that's going to lead to. It's an opportunity. So I'm still working at it. You know, as far as like business mindset, there was experiences that led to that and that shift, you know what I mean? But it's a part of the journey, you know. I don't know if I'll ever break through. I'll just be working. That's the goal.
You're like the most humble. If I had like one of those credits that you have on my resume, I'd be like, where did you want me to sign my autograph again? Here? Anywhere you want. Anyway. I think that probably, to be completely honest, is why you're so freaking successful, because there is no peaking. It's a continual journey. It's a continual education. It's a continual, learning and uncovering and develop, growing. Like it's hard for someone like me to think that you have anywhere else to go in terms of learning and getting better, but I think we all do, right?
Oh man. Yeah. I stay in class, I stay training, just because it's like, I've seen way too many people book one thing and be like, oh, quit my job. And then they're and living in a car and not where, you know what I mean? You just have to ride the momentum. If something happens, you got to ride that out and use that as leverage here and there, So
to get the next thing. You actually coached me through that. The commercial that we were talking about that you broke my spell for, I was so like, oh my God, how much am I going to get paid? This is going to be awesome. This is the SAG commercial suite. Like, how can I calculate my residuals? And you were like, you're done with that, sister. You don't care. Like, it's time to move on to the next thing. And I completely changed my mindset from that point on. And it was so critical because to use your momentum, like I took the momentum of the thrill of booking and being on set. And I was like, ooh, what's next? I want more. And I do think it kind of kickstarted some things. So always good advice from you, Blythe. And then Tiege, for people that are crazy enough to want to get started in the gut-wrenching experience of stand-up, how did you get started in stand-up?
You know what? I took a class. I just took a class and I learned how to write. And honestly, it's pretty formulaic. Like when you break it down, like in the beginning, stuff is like, A plus B equals a punchline most of the time. And there's like different ways to like finagle it. And I really started because I want to write and I want to write for shows. So that's why I took the class, because I was like, oh, this will maybe like help in my joke writing for scripts. And then I was like, actually, this is kind of fun. And so then that's kind of like what got the ball rolling. But my class was at Flappers in Burbank, which I would recommend. I like them. So
yeah, they're fun. I've been to those. Been to those comedy shows, and I love. I feel just as nervous for the people performing.
Right.
Maybe probably even more so, like, because I think for most of the audience, like we kind of assume, oh, they're just off the cuff winging it and they're so funny. But I think that you spend quite a bit of time developing these sets, eh?
For sure. Yeah. And definitely like I would say most of it, especially in the beginning, is scripted. And then like once you like find your voice and like know who you are and like understand where you want to go with your set, it's a lot easier to like go off the cuff. But it's such a risk in the beginning when you're like, I don't, so most of it's written in the beginning. But
yeah, I take it literally makes me sweat. I'm honestly perspiring. Like the stress level for that is, I can't, like the 2-drink minimum. I'm like, no problem. Keep them coming.
Yeah.
And I'm in the audience. So terrifying. Oh man. Wow. Yeah. Comedy. So with, what would be like the dream then for you, T? What's the ultimate end all?
The end all for me, honestly, would be to be in a position where I could like be pitching my own shows. That's like obviously very long. That's long down the line, but that's like that's like the dream. So
no, it's not. You can pitch right now.
I mean, kinda. Yeah, kinda. So that's the dream. And I would love to be staffed on a show. I would love to, eventually pitch, but I think maybe staffing would be like, I would love, what a dream to sit in a room with people all day and just come up with like fun stories. How is that a job? And you get paid.
Well, it's usually pretty smelly because you're all sitting in the same room for hours at a time. People, their lunch is being brought in. Everybody's like hating themselves because they think they're not funny or not wanting to share their idea. Their rooms.
So quarantine, basically.
Exactly. We've done such a good job of actually, not talking a ton about quarantine, but Blythe, I have to admit, your sister, she's a travel content creator. I'm not sure what her profession is, but she travels like a professional traveler. Is she like in the travel industry?
Yeah, I guess. No, she was doing remote year. So she was able to travel she made it to, I think it was 9 months or something, but the program shut down when she was in Split. And like we made a family decision for her to come here. And so she was here, she was quarantining in my room, for 2 weeks just to be safe. But yeah, she's able to work remote through that program.
The reason I'm laughing, you guys, is that because Blythe quarantined with her sister has led to the funniest content I've like ever. I mean, oh my God. So are you TikToking? Are you doing a lot of TikToking? I haven't seen any recent TikToks.
Yeah, I fell off. I don't know. I thought I was gonna be into it, because I was a huge Viner. I was into Vine, and so, but it's not the same. I don't know. It's different. I think it's better than Vine, obviously, but I haven't figured out the algorithm or anything. So I just kind of post at 2 a.m. and no tags. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to figure it out, but it's really fun.
It kills me
To pass
because
the
so
time.
her sister came back from traveling, and obviously they had to quarantine, keep each other away from each other. So the skits that or maybe just real life experiences that came up where they had to be eating in the same room, or you were tossing her food into her bedroom and spraying her down with Lysol from afar. I mean, it was so, I'm not doing it justice with my descriptions, but they way to turn a really tricky situation into joy for the rest of us. So fun. I love that.
Yeah, it's really fun.
What this is for both of you guys. I know Tiege, you were talking about how development continues right now and writing continues from home, so there's some sense of normalcy there. But for either of you, feel free to jump in. What do you think from your perspective, or your gut feeling is that the industry, kind of how we're going to be playing in the next month for auditions or for writers' rooms, or sort of what's your feeling on that?
I have no idea. I've been watching some of those. SAG has had those conversations with casting or whatever. And it sounds like we're not going to be, or at least Hollywood in general, is not going to be fully up and running, or it's all going to be self-tapes. It sounds like this is me just relaying what I heard. But it sounds like it's going to be a lot of self-tapes and not a lot of co-stars. It's going to be mostly the main cast, and they're going to probably try to do stuff remotely. That's me literally making things up that I heard. So
well,
anybody else have more?
Blythe has a pretty direct connection too, so I'm sure she can probably speak to this pretty intimately, actually. What's your take, Blythe? Oh no, am I frozen? Hang on one sec. I think I might need you to start over. Thank you, internet. Tiege, are you hearing Blythe okay?
Oh yeah.
Honestly, I don't think anyone knows, but we're all trying to figure it out. And I've been staying active in these casting director workshops, and everyone across the board is I don't know. I don't know,
Yeah.
But yeah, I think people are starting to slowly put out casting calls, and things are trickling down in the breakdowns and stuff. So
yeah. My audio was cutting out a little bit, but I think I heard. I think I'm gonna repeat what I mostly heard in case any of you guys are having some trouble hearing too. But so basically,
slow?
I think so. It could just be on my end, but for my own sake too, so that I can retain the message. I think kind of what I'm hearing is that still definitely a lot of Hollywood is remote for the foreseeable future.
Can
it's
you
kind
hear
of coming in. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, it's just got this delay, at least on my end.
Oh no.
It's the full moon, you guys. It has messed with me for 3 days straight now. And yes, I'm LA enough to say that. So I'll say it if I want to.
I think I'm totally frozen. Can you guys hear me?
It's so funny. I can hear you when you say, "Can you hear me?" but nothing else. So what I've noticed too is I've been trying to, Tiege, I don't know, Blythe was mentioning some of those casting director workshops and live stuff. For any of my actor friends out there, I hope you are at least hopping on to take advantage of those. I think is probably what Blythe was saying. I know I've certainly
Are we here?
Tried to as well. And then there's a lot of these casting sort of, frankly, casting calls from places before that would not have opened up to big big audiences like that. So I think that's a really cool opportunity too, which, I wish Blythe's audio would come back in because I know for a fact that Blythe actually participated in one of those casting director, like, I think it was like a contest or competition. And I can see her screen moving a bit. I want her to come back and tell the story because it's really cool. She basically did like I'm sorry, Blythe, if you're hearing this and if I'm not representing it well, but she did a sort of like a self-tape audition for this big casting company. She won the whole contest and then actually ended up securing.
Can you hear? Am I good? Hello.
Yes, there you are. Oh, thank God. I was just about to get to the punchline. And
totally frozen for a while.
I was filling the time.
Yeah.
Can you tell us your story about the casting? Is it LDB or LBD casting? And what happened with all that? Well, okay. I think we
Can
lost.
you hear me now?
I swear the computer gods are messing with us because the only time I can hear you is when you say, "Can you hear me now?" Tiege, are you taking this material with you for a stand-up routine? Like, there's got to be a routine in there somewhere about Zooms and all the technological difficulties that have been happening with like Zoom in particular. Oh my God.
For sure.
Oh my God. I
Did
had
you
the most
see-
embarrassing.
What happened?
Well, it wasn't as embarrassing as a story that you're, I hope, gonna blow my mind with. But I was on a Zoom call, like learning on a workshop basically, and I thought that it was like common knowledge now that the host mutes everybody for not for like a regular Zoom, but for like a professional workshop. And I didn't like what the person was saying. I thought that they didn't have the best information. And I said something to the effect of, "Who the F is this Yahoo?" And I was not muted. and so that was my terrifying Zoom story. What was the one you saw?
Wait, first, did they know that it was you that said that?
I like just add it to the list of things I have nightmares about because I certainly didn't own up to it. I mean, there was a pretty big, it was like a big workshop. So that's why I thought, well, we're all muted. It's anonymous here. Yeah. So good lesson to.
First of all, don't have nightmares about it. I'm sure other people were thinking it. And also, no one knew. If it was a big group, you're fine. I was just going to reference the guy. Well, first there was a guy in his underwear, the news anchor, which was like not that big of a deal. But then the guy with the girlfriend in the background who was wearing no clothes, like a fully naked woman, and then it wasn't his girlfriend. He got caught cheating with this woman who was in his live shot naked. Isn't that crazy?
That's karma being like, it's time to serve this dish. I love that.
LOL for the national broadcast.
So much good content there. Okay, I see. I've got Blythe here in the green room, so I'm going to try and add her back in. Hello, Miss Howard. Let's see if we're working now. I can see her. Maybe the audio will catch up. Well, anyway, we are getting really close to time here. Anyway, so I'm hoping that Blythe's audio will come in just enough time to kind of, there's so much to cover and I wish I could talk forever to both of you guys. But Tiege, why don't you kind of tell everybody what the next best thing that you're excited about that you're working on and where everybody can find you.
Yeah, I've been, what am I working on? I did start a little podcast called Well-Informed Girlfriends, which you can listen to. It's fun. It's like The View, but for like millennial, and it's really fun. Anyways, so that, and then you can just find me on social media at TDP.
Fantastic. So let's say that podcast one more time, and I'll drop it in the chat below as well.
Okay. It's called Well-Informed Girlfriends.
Are we live?
We are live.
Yeah.
I can hear you. Yay. Okay, Well-Informed Girlfriend. Tiege, I'll put that in the chat.
Hello.
Blythe.
Hello. Testing.
Testing. 1, 2, 3. Can you hear us?
Shoot.
I love it. I'm just like partially praying that Blythe knows that we're on, and also that it would be like a delight to hear her like drop an F-bomb big time, which was totally fine, by the way. Nothing wrong with that. Blythe, I'm so sorry about our connectivity issues. I'm going to speak for you, which I will not do as well, but you guys, Blythe had big news. She was just signed by a huge agency on the East Coast by participating in one of those, not just by, I mean, she has an incredible body of work to support that, but it played hand in hand with her going on to secure representation with Pantheon. So congratulations to you, Blythe. And as we mentioned a couple times, Blythe does have an actor's workshop that I personally can attest to. Broke my spell. She's amazing. Also just like fun to hang with. But if you really want to work on your craft, she's great. And that's Blythe is online at Blythe Howard. It should be running across the bottom of your screen. And then her acting workshop, which again, I cannot speak highly enough of, is Actor's Life with Blythe. And if you search that hashtag, there's some fun stuff on Instagram, on the Instagrams as well. My fierce, funny Female Friday episode. Thank you both so much for being here. I marvel and just am honored to be friends with you both. So thank you for coming on Pretend Talk Show.
You're so great. So great. Nice work.
What a way to end the show. Thank you.
We love you.
Hi.
Okay. Oh. Hi. I think there's a pretty big delay on Blythe's end.
I said that like 5 minutes ago. Is it late?
Yeah, I think it's super delayed. So anybody feel free to pop off in the chat. This will stay up on the page. You can ask any questions there in the chat as well. And thank you all so much for being here. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you right back here next week. Thanks, everybody.